Happy Friday, Fumble fam. Welcome back to our live show. We have a great show in store for you today. We're getting into a lot of news. It's also Juneteenth. We'll be talking a little bit about that. But before we do, subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends. Now here is the Fumble Squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Chris?
It's your boy Chris. You can find me everywhere at CK2K.
I'm Jackie Ray. You can find me on all things social media at JRayTheFanatic.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. It's your girl, Britt Johnson. You can follow me on all social media at I am Britt Johnson.
So, you guys, before we jump into the Need to Know news, I have to share with you this Instagram post and caption that Jeannie Buss posted. So this is absolutely wild and really, really frightening. So she posted this picture. There's a lot of profanity in it. It says, "Dear," I don't even want to say it. So after 60 years as a huge Lakers fan, I now say to hell with the overpaid blank traders in the NBA. Go to hell and join Kobe Bryant. Signed, Joe something. So it's extremely horrible, disgusting to read. It looks like it was written, it looks like a serial killer letter, really scary. So her caption says, "After much thought, I decided to share this letter I received on Monday so that everyone can see that hate is real and living out there. This is happening in our world today. It's real and it exists. To Joe, did sending this letter make you feel better? Really, all you did was waste your time and energy and your postage stamp, but thank you for including your return home address." I feel like she should put that out on the internet for everybody to see. "Why don't you look in the mirror and see your ugliness, because I refuse to. I have received letters like this over the years. The advice I always got, ignore it. I did, but not anymore. On this day, Juneteenth, I asked my white friends to join together, acknowledge the racism that exists in our country and around the world, and pledge to stop ignoring it. We all must do better." I mean, I'm shocked. I know that hatred and I know that negativity and racism exists, but it's always so shocking and confronting to see somebody writing these kinds of things, taking their time to do that. Do you guys have anything that you want to say about this? Jackie, Britt, why don't we start with you, Britt?
I mean, I'm not shocked at all because that's a lot of what my DMs look like very often. And I learned about racism, unfortunately, at a very young age. I was like, didn't even realize I was like different than anybody else until I went to Alabama once to visit my aunt. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. And the way grown people in this little town, it was in Fort Payne, Alabama, this small little town in Alabama, were treating a little 6 or 7-year-old girl. She had to tell all her neighbors that her like black nieces and nephews were coming into town. Obviously, this is my white aunt on my mom's side. And that was the first time I experienced, like, as a kid, kids don't notice shit either. Like as a kid, I noticed how they were treating and acting me. So I can even imagine like how they really were if I was an adult, like looking at them and how like getting the stares and them saying stuff under their breath and stuff. I realized that as a kid. So I'm not surprised. I've lived in Louisiana as well. My dad's side of the family is from Monroe, Louisiana and Galveston, Texas. So this is like, I've said several times on this show, in Louisiana, still to this day, they have separate proms. They have a school prom that the black kids go to, and then the white parents put on another prom. So in California, we're kind of blessed and cursed. We're blessed in a sense that we don't necessarily see this stuff, but it is a curse because we're blind to it. And being colorblind and blind of racism isn't going to help solve the problem. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say with that. But people that grew up and stuff in California don't see this as often as you do in the South and in other places. But it's very live and well everywhere in this country.
Ugh, I just hate seeing that kind of thing. I mean, I don't think anybody likes seeing those messages. It's like nauseating. Jackie, do you have anything that you want to
add? No, I mean, I'm from Denver, so period, end of that sentence. But I definitely, I love that he put his home address on there. I would love for her to tell us that. But at the same time, you know, he says after 60 years, the scary part about that is you could probably see his kids and grandkids with similar thought processes unless something drastic has happened. But no, I mean, we had a race riot in my school, which is funny to say because there was only 10 black people in a class of 500 that were black. So it was definitely more of a them riot than it was a race riot. But I specifically remember one of my favorite teachers calling me to the side and saying, "Hey, you can't get so upset every time a white person calls you an N-word. That's just how a lot of us see you. And he was just so matter of fact about it. And to the point where I was like, I'm gonna have to burn this bitch. Sorry, I was like so mad though. But I was like, and because I had anger issues, and a lot of that just stemmed from a lot of my teachers not really saying racism is bad, but trying to tell me as a Black person I needed to figure out how to deal with it.
Look the other way, turn another cheek.
Yep. Not surprised at this at all.
All the time, man. Yeah.
Oh my God, that makes me so mad for you. Like to hear that you went through that and you had a teacher, somebody in a position of power, tell you that you couldn't get so mad about it. That's insane. Chris, I want to throw it to you. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to this horrifying story?
Well, yeah, and even to hear their stories too, from both Jackie and Britt, like that's something that I've always worried about. Like, yeah, it's one thing, of course, it's very scary for Black men in this country and everything, but my heart always hurts for Black women because it's already such a feat being a woman itself in this stage in the United States of America, and then to be Black on top of that, you're having situations like that all the time. So just now see that Jeannie Buss is getting this, it just shows hate is just everywhere, and it just stems everywhere, and it stems in all. It's just so sad that people have to hide behind their keyboards and make these threats and feel so proud about themselves because the fact that she posted that up there, Joe's just sitting there just so proud that oh, my message went up on the internet, oh my goodness, people are seeing this is great, da 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 da. And it's just like, and the fact that we have those kind of people still in this world is just it's absolutely insane. And to echo on what Jackie said, yeah, I was out here in California. I mean, I didn't go to Denver for school, and I feel bad for that story. But being out here, like I went to school in Yorba Linda, and people who know Yorba Linda, there was about I would say about 15 that graduated in the class of 600, 15 of us that were Black, and we had situations like that all the time. The only thing was none of these kids were bold enough to say it in school. It would always happen after school because we would always hoop after the class, and you'd always hear the cars drive by and hear all of them yell out the N-word. It was just like so matter of fact, and no one would do anything. You'd have faculty right there that are supposed to be watching, and they wouldn't do a damn thing. They wouldn't say anything. So yeah, it's just crazy how much hate there is in this world. And, I always hope, and I try to stay optimistic that, that is something that will be, I don't even know if I can say fixed, but hopefully that can be brought down. Let's go with that. That'll be a start for me. Sally, I don't know if I can say fixed, but at least brought down.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. It's shameful that adults stand by and let that kind of word be said and those kinds of things be done. I mean, it's super shameful. And I think that obviously a great way to start combating all of this is like what we've been talking about, educating ourselves, also educating our children. I just ordered some anti-racist children's books for my nephew, and I'm excited to show him. And I know my sisters and her fiance are trying to do that same thing. So we've got to start with the kids, obviously, and teach them to be accepting and loving and open-minded. Okay, let's jump into Need to Know News. You guys, changing gears a little bit, we're talking about the NBA and the latest form of technology they're going to be using in their bubble in Orlando. So in addition to those social distance safety alarms and the magic Disney wristbands that they're going to need to get access to every single one of the facilities, the NBA is giving players the option to wear a smart ring. So it's called the Aura Ring, and it can track a lot of stats about your health. It monitors your sleep, exercise, and now it's capable of predicting COVID-19 symptoms up to 3 days in advance with 90% accuracy. It does all of that by tracking your body temperature, your respiratory functions, and your heart rate. So it's not a bad idea to arm these athletes with these pieces of, technology to keep them safe, but a lot of people are criticizing the NBA and this company, the Aura Ring company, for giving these athletes such fancy safety measures and this, smart equipment when we've had essential workers, grocery store employees, doctors, nurses risking their lives every day, and all they have are latex gloves and a flimsy face mask. So there were a lot of reactions on Twitter. Somebody tweeted, "How is this technology being debuted with the NBA? Why aren't there mass production plans for these being distributed to frontline workers and then the public afterwards? Maybe I'm stupid and I love the NBA more than anything, but it's wild that that they're first to use it. So just to clarify, they are not the first to use it. These rings have been available to the public for a while now, but I do think that the company should have wanted to give them to doctors and nurses and grocery store employees. They could have been, although they are pretty expensive. They retail for about $300 to $400, so maybe the financial hurdle was something that hospitals and grocery stores were not willing to do. Another tweet echoed the same thing. They wrote doctors, teachers, essential workers, just questioning like why they didn't get any of those. And then finally, this person tweeted, part of the utility of the NBA returning is seeing how it might be possible to respond to the pandemic when people are highly valued. And I think that's a very like strong tweet. So Britt, I want to know from you, do you think the NBA is going overboard with these safety measures? Shouldn't daily testing be enough? Or do you think that the social distance alarms and the smart rings, like these are all worthwhile?
I think it's a little crazy. I just looked, when I first saw this, I was like, oh great, next they're going to be like, mandatory chips have to be inserted in everybody. You know, like this is just the first of many things that could happen. And I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with it. Obviously, this is just an option for the players, but like, I don't know. I don't even see players wanting to even do something like that. It's like, it's not going to tell you if you have COVID or not. It's just going to see if you have symptoms of like, oh, you might have a little fever, or you might have a little cough or something like that. So I don't know. I think it just creates more anxiety for players, and it's pointless to do. I don't know. I don't agree with it. And just because I have the whole chip thing in my head and like them wanting, to get to a point where everybody's going to have to wear a chip in them and all this kind of stuff, I just feel like this is the first step to that, and I'm not willing to go that direction.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people were echoing that similar sentiment online, saying like, this is just tracking and selling your data. Why are we letting technology companies into our bodies and into our health? Jackie, I want to go to you. Do you find it odd that NBA players are being decked out in all of this safety technology while frontline workers have basically only had the benefit of gloves and masks? Or do you think that this is totally expected?
I think it's unfortunate, but I think it's definitely expected. We've just seen, unfortunately, our value system in this country is just kind of off. We definitely value our athletes, and don't get me wrong, I love the athletes as well. We definitely put them and entertainers on a higher pedestal than we do even, military people. What military have to go through when they come back from war or being deployed is just ridiculous. So I'm not surprised that we put value in the wrong places. But technically it's also finances too. A lot of these hospitals are privatized, and so they just require donations or things of that nature. And then public hospitals, forget about it. They're not getting any money from hardly anybody. So it's an unfortunate tier system that's going to take another movement to try to change. So it's unfortunate, but no, I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah. So Chris, like I mentioned before, these rings are optional for the players. At least that's what the initial reports have said about them. So how many athletes do you think are actually going to opt into wearing them?
My brain says none, but I do believe that there's probably some of these guys, because there's a lot of players that are investors in the tech world. So I see that some of those players might be a little bit curious, and they might want to play with this and see how it works and see if it's real, or believe in it because they might know more than we know about everything that goes in it and stuff like that. So I'm sure there's going to be some outliers, but I think for the mass majority, especially by seeing the responses, I don't think there's going to be a lot of them doing it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It also just seems excessive after everything that they're already going through with the alarms and with the testing and the, quarantining. Like, do they really need this additional ring that's going to track all of their data? I don't think it's that necessary. Okay, let's move into the second story. So the NCAA just announced that it will no longer hold championship events in states that prominently feature the Confederate flag. They say Mississippi is the only state affected by the ban. Their state flag has the Confederate flag in the upper left corner. Mississippi also has the highest percentage of Black Americans in the country too, so it's just all around weird. But people on Twitter were also calling out Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama because their flags are based off of Confederate Confederate flags too. Michael V. Drake of the NCAA Board of Governors and the president of Ohio State University said, quote, "There is no place in college athletics or the world for symbols or acts of discrimination and oppression. We must continually evaluate ways to protect and enhance the championship experience for college athletes. Expanding the Confederate flag policy to all championships is an important step by the NCAA to further provide a quality experience for all participants and fans." So, Britt, I want to go to you on this one. I know we've all had a bone to pick with the NCAA, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this move. Do you think it's enough? Just give me your overall thoughts on this.
Well, yesterday, this was done because yesterday the SEC said that they would no longer have any of their SEC championships played in Mississippi. We all know SEC is the largest college division. It has the most successful teams. Like literally every year, one of the SEC schools wins some kind of big championship, if not multiple. They're huge. They run the NCAA basically. So I think with them kind of leading the way, saying that in most of their schools, obviously it's the South. So with those schools and stuff and them taking a stand saying that we're not going to have the Confederate flag in any of our or not hold any of these tournaments or whatever because of that, it is a huge step for college to do that to Mississippi because they get paid a lot of money to host those, especially for baseball, those regionals and super regionals, which always take place in Mississippi because we always either have Ole Miss or Southern Mississippi or Mississippi State in baseball, at least, for those championship games. So I think it's like a big thing to say, well, we're not going to be holding them now in Mississippi because that home field advantage that those teams would get hosting a regionals or super regionals is a really big deal, especially in college baseball. So I think it's a good step. Obviously, this is just one thing of the millions of things you need to do. But like obviously saying that we're not going to allow any place that has the Confederate flag or shows the Confederate flag to us to sponsor them for a tournament, I think that's a good start. And that's just the flags part. Now we have another part we need to get to and another part we need to get to, but this is one of the many steps that you needed to take. It was enough for that one step, but there's more steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, small step, but still there's a lot of room for improvement. Chris, we were all stoked when NASCAR decided they were going to ban the Confederate flag from their events. Do you feel as optimistic about this move from the NCAA?
Oh man, it makes me sound so negative every single time. I'll echo what Britt says. It is a start, and I'm hoping that they do continue making moves like this in the future. We saw them finally cave into letting the kids make their own money. So NCAA are doing some things. I think this is a very good start. But yeah, then the other side of my brain is just like, but is this where it ends? Or are they just doing this now because, like you just said, we saw SEC make the decision before the NCAA made the decision. So I don't know if that means that this is something that they're going to then do on their own and continue to make decisions like this on their own. I'm still so like the NCAA and NFL. I have such a short leash with both of them, so it's so hard for me to jump in and be like, oh, there it is. Yeah, we need that. But being positive, this could be that start for sure. And you know what? We'll see. We'll see if this is going to be a continued theme with other changes that definitely need to be made with the NCAA.
Mm-hmm. Piggyback really quick off what you said, Chris. Sorry. Just really quick. I don't think the NCAA will ever, unless they get obviously a new board with a lot of more, black and brown faces in it. I don't think that they will ever be the first to lead anything in decisions, because even the stuff that they did with allowing athletes to get paid for their likeness was because the governor of California said that his state is going to do that. So they had to so I feel like they're always going to be backed into a corner and have to be backed into a corner in order to do anything, unless and until they get a board that looks like the rest of the country looks,
Right. Yeah.
Jack, you want to go? Chris, I didn't know if you had a response to that or not, so I'm allowed to leave a little.
No, she hit it. No, that's it. That's perfect.
Okay, Jackie, I want to go to you. Do you think that this move will inspire Mississippi and other states to change their flag, or will it not have that great of an impact?
It's so funny. I was sitting here and I'm like, I hope she don't ask me no question about flag changing. Because, and here you go. Because for me, that's a slope that I'm definitely willing to go down. But I think if you're willing to go down to change the flag slope, then you have to also look at the American flag and what that represents to the Native Americans and what happened under that flag with Black Americans. So I'm down to go down that slope personally, but I think it needs to be, you need to realize if you're asking one group of people to change the Confederate flag, okay, but the things that happened under the Confederate flag are very much symbolic of what happened in this country in its totality. So if we're going to be changing flags, I think we need to really think about that and think about how far are we willing to go down that slope. I'm down to ski all the way down to the bottom, but I don't know if everybody else is.
Yeah, so we need to revamp every flag. All right, you guys, let's move on into the final need to know news story. This one we're just going to breeze through quickly because I know I'm running short on time here for my segment. Vanessa Bryant is urging Congress to pass the Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant Helicopter Safety Act. She thinks it will make helicopter travel significantly safer in the country. She shared a statement with CNN that said, quote, I strongly urge the U.S. Congress to pass a federal law that would improve the safety of helicopters operating in this country. I believe there is a chance that Kobe and Gianna would still be alive today if their helicopter had been equipped with the safety equipment required by this pending federal legislation. The bill would require all helicopters made for 6 or more passengers be equipped with terrain awareness and warning systems, a flight data recorder, and a cockpit voice recorder. And she just strongly believes that these safety measures will save many lives in the future. She said, quote, as passengers traveling on aircrafts, we assume that proper safety measures are in order to prevent accidents from happening before we fly. It's unfortunate that this is not the case, and aircraft companies must do their part to protect lives. So she, has taken that to U.S. Congress, and we'll see what happens with that. But I have no questions for that story. I just wanted to share that with you all. And now, Chris, you can take it away with the post up.
Ooh, it is time for Post Up with your boy Chris, quarantine edition. Yes, we are starting off semi in the kingdom, in the backyard of the kingdom, I would say, because Clutch Sports was out here in these streets doing a very secretive hush workout with led by LeBron James and Ben Simmons. If we can get those pictures up, you'll see the pictures to my side. We know that the playoffs are around the corner, July 30th. We all that's coming up. They're going to be officially going over and starting their training camp at the beginning of July. But before then, players have been trying to get their work in, and Clutch has been out here secretly getting that work in with LeBron James and some other guys, Ben Simmons as well. So it's nice to see that. You see the beard's a little fixed up by LeBron James in those pictures. You see Ben Simmons got rid of the very, very bad braids that he had on his head. But, it's good to see that them working out and getting ready for the season to come back. Both teams they're both contenders, the Sixers in the East and definitely the number one Lakers in the West. So cool to see this. Dope little open court going on with Clutch. You like that? And do what you got to do. Moving on to the next one. Before I move on, Jackie, were you there?
In spirit. In spirit.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if you can give us a scoop or something. All right. Just wanted to double check. All right. Cool. Moving on to the next one. This one I'm excited about. I'm very excited about. Jamie Foxx is on my Mount Rushmore. So to see, him adding on another name to his list of it's not even an impersonation. It's just he's like every cartoon that you ever watch where he like transforms into that other person. People watch Pokemon, Ditto that turns into other Pokemon. That Jamie Foxx is like the king when it comes to impressions. I saw this man do Doc Rivers on on Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and I never thought I would say, "Damn, that is a damn good Doc Rivers impression." I never thought I would say that in my entire life, and he killed that. So we all know that he killed it as Ray Charles in the movie Ray. Like I said, you can literally just YouTube him. He's out there doing impressions on impressions on impressions, but he has been working on this movie to finally come out, and he let us know via Twitter and Instagram that it is happening. He is the movie Finding Mike is officially coming, and as you see in these pictures, Jamie Foxx is getting in Mike Tyson shape. Okay, he is out there, but the thing is, the process to get to what he's going to do to look like Mike Tyson is crazy. He dropped a huge caption on his IG. I'm going to read 2 parts from it. I'm not going to read the entire thing. First part said, the transformation begins. Finding Mike. It is no secret that I have been pursuing the Mike Tyson biopic for some time. People always ask me, when's it going to happen? Things have finally lined up. He then continued later on saying, we're just changing the body. We will be 216 pounds when we shoot, and then we'll balloon to 225, 230 when which will look like 250 on screen. As you know, that Mike Tyson was a big dude. So I'm excited about this. He also went on Ebro a few months ago. You guys can Google that. I didn't have the video and I didn't want to put it up there, but you guys can look it up. And he laid out like the whole starting sequence perfectly. He threw in his Mike Tyson impression that is like, is God tier. Like, it's so perfect. It's dead on. So I implore you guys to go search that up and watch that. But Britt, I want to come to you first. I'm sure you are just as excited about this, but just to see the work that he's going through to be Mike Tyson, because Jamie Foxx, as he's in shape, but he ain't Mike Tyson shape. So he explained how he's going to get into that shape. But how are you feeling about this movie finally being a thing, Britt?
So I actually posted on my Twitter earlier today. I'm going to go check it out. I did an interview with Jamie Foxx back in 2014. So this has been a long time coming. We were talking about him playing Mike Tyson in 2014. And prior to that, we did a little Q&A thing with Mike Tyson, and we asked Mike Tyson what he had to do in order to, or what would Jamie Foxx have to do in order to prepare to be Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson had said, Jamie Foxx is going to have to take a lot of steroids and eat a lot of pork. And so in the interview, I told Jamie Foxx that, but he kind of, he basically was like, he played, if you guys don't remember, he played Tukey Williams, and he had to go, I think he said in the interview, up to 235 for that role. So he can balloon if he needs to balloon, and he said that's going to be the easiest part. It's going to be, and he did a little of the impressions of Mike Tyson. He started talking like him a little bit, but he said that part's easy too. And he's like, really, he's on who Mike Tyson is as a person and where he came from, and how Mike Tyson has said, because Jamie Foxx had talked to Mike Tyson around that time, and Mike Tyson had said, like, I'm so much happier in my life now because I know people are around me because they want to be around me, because now I don't have anything to give them as far as and stuff like that. So I think Jamie really said he wanted to focus on getting that part of Mike Tyson and understanding that part of him is, going from like this fame and fortune and, having all this money and having all these people around you that kind of really didn't care about you. They just wanted a little piece of you, to then losing that and becoming a regular guy. And then, we know he lost his daughter too, and like all of this kind of stuff. So Jamie Foxx really wanted to focus on that part of it. And I can't wait, because this has literally been in the making for so long, like 2004. I had to look back at the interview. I was like, oh my gosh, this was from 2014. And Jamie Foxx was so excited. He's always wanted to play Mike Tyson. So I'm really, really excited for this. Yeah. Check out the whole interview.
There you go. You know where to find her. Amber Johnson everywhere. Go check her out on Twitter. Find that interview. But yeah, he's talked about how he's pitched, denied, redid it, pitched again, denied, redid it, pitched, and he finally got through. And now we're going to see that movie, because people would expect that when you go for a Mike Tyson movie, you're going to see his like the Ali movie. You see the whole history of Mike Tyson stuff. But he wants to focus on the after, like Britt just said. And I want to see that. I'm excited for that. So I'm glad that it finally got that green light, and we will be seeing that. I'm ready for that movie. Moving on to this next one. This one. Look, Kyler Murray, man, this boy is climbing up on my board of favorite player in the league, because this kid is out here, and he just finished his rookie year, and he out here cussing out IG followers and stuff like that. Doesn't care about all the followers and stuff like that. He just cares about what he believes in, his beliefs, and he's out here in that same breath. He's not waiting until year 4, year 5 to have people start conversating that he's one of the greatest. He's out here in not even year 2 yet. And he's out here doing LeBron James-esque stuff, inviting teammates to go out to work out with him, and he's footing the bill. But let me explain. Yes, you heard me right. Dallas, Texas, Kyler Murray is inviting 20 of his teammates. It's mainly just his offense, to go and have like a mini workout, mini camp, mini chemistry bonding session, where he's gonna have 20 of his teammates come up with him. I have the exact numbers of who exactly is going now. It's 21 total, but 20 other teammates outside of Kyler Murray. He's getting all his quarterbacks. That's 4. Okay. Someone do the math in the chat. Okay. All his running backs. That's another 4. We're at 8. Okay. He's bringing out his key receivers from right now. He got 9 receivers coming out. So what's that? 9 plus 8. Keep going, chat. You guys do it. And then he's bringing out all 4 of his tight ends. What's that equal? 21. This is my Dora the Explorer moment. But yeah, 21 total players going over to Texas. Yeah, he's gonna be footing the travel plans, footing the where they're staying, food. They're gonna be having some extracurricular stuff that they're gonna be doing, like bowling and top golf and stuff like that. All of it comes out to be $40,000. And my man Kyler Murray said, easy. All right, come on out. Let's get this working. They're going to be doing on-field stuff. They're also going to be doing off-field stuff. Like I said, they be bowling and stuff like that, chemistry building. I love it because you hear these stories when these guys are vets, like year 4 in any sport. You know, year 4, they're doing this. They're taking command of the team. This man had the team for 1 season, and he's like, all right, I know what we got to do. Let's bring this together. And I mean, we also know that the NFL is going to it's still up in the air as far as like what exactly is going to be done for training camps and stuff like that. So this is up to him to take this, at least put that into his own hands to at least have his offense together to, build that chemistry, which I'm all for. So Kyler Murray's out here, man, reigning rookie of the year. Let's see if, I don't know why he didn't. I mean, maybe the limit was 21. I don't know why he didn't invite his offensive line, because I think they're the real ones that need to be invited, because they need to let this kid have some time to throw the ball. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Kyler Murray's out here trying to get ready for next season. So shout out to Kyler Murray, and hopefully that works, and hopefully they're out there practicing social distancing, because all right, on to the next one. Kyle Kuzma has some conspiracies that he's out here talking. We kind of talked about it too, but even though it's being broadcast as these new, I'm calling them the Rona rings, these things are supposed to help you detect whether you are running a fever, all that stuff. It's 90% effective, blah, 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 blah. It's supposed to help you detect the Rona, your heart rate, blah, blah, blah. Kuzma's out here seeing this as a tracker, which it definitely is. We talked about it at the top. Kuzma dropped this tweet, just simply saying, looks like a tracking device with his little Inspector Gadget, or Sherlock Holmes emoji. And he had some other NBA players respond. I think Joe Ingles was saying, yeah, they definitely need to track you, because what you might be doing in Orlando. It's funny. So yeah. And he's definitely on to something, but like we talked about at the top, I was going to say here, I don't really expect many people to even, because it's optional, I don't expect many people to even entertain it and get it. I do think that there will be some, because like I said, a lot of these guys have stakes in, they invest in tech and stuff like that, and they're very involved in the tech world, so they're probably going to have them for that reason, and have them to support and whatever. Maybe they have some money in the brand, that the people that made this, who knows. So there will be some that I'm sure will have that, and there's others that probably just want to do it because like, oh, that sounds cool. But I doubt that the majority of the league is going to even entertain this. But hey, what do I know? Watch us talk about this at the beginning of August, find out everyone got a damn ring and they all defaulting, and we got burns on fingers and stuff like that. So we don't know what's going to happen. I just expect that probably nobody's going to have them. So we'll see. Rona rings, we'll see what they're all about at that time. Last but not least, I want to give some attention to Renee Montgomery, who plays for the Atlanta Dream. We were talking about Maya Moore and her decision that she made to step away from basketball to continue to not even continue, because at that time it wasn't even, I don't want to say it's a trend, but at that time it wasn't really as talked about it as it is right now. And she made that decision to defend the case that was then reversed, and she continued to even she didn't go back to basketball after that. She continued to fight for social justice reform, and now we have Renee from oh my goodness, the Atlanta Dream doing the exact same thing. She dropped a tweet yesterday saying, after much thought, I've decided to opt out of the 2020 WNBA season. There's work to be done off the court in so many areas in our community. Social justice reform isn't going to happen overnight, but I do feel that now is the time, and moments equal momentum. Let's keep it going. And of course, as you'd expect, everyone that had a Twitter account within the WNBA and even in the NBA, all were all about this tweet. They all support her. Everybody was, you had a few people saying that if you need anything, if there's anything they can do, they want to help. So huge move for her. And I salute it. I salute it 100%. I want to come to you real quick, Jackie, seeing this. Do you think that, again, I don't want to call it a trend. I don't want to symbolize this as a trend, but do you see this becoming, because we've been talking about the movement. Thank you. See, I'm like, trend is such a stupid word. Movement, facts. We're talking about the NBA and Kyrie and Dwight forming a coalition stuff and stuff like that for the NBA and players that are speaking out and don't feel like they should be playing. And now we're having players that giving up their careers for this past just even the second half of this season. We have Renee and we have Maya Moore out here giving up their careers for this because this is very important. Do you see that this is going to become a movement that we see become more mass spread amongst not even just the WNBA but amongst all sports, because this is just within basketball for right now that we're hearing?
It entirely depends on their pockets, you know what I mean, and how,
unfortunately, right?
And how they've budgeted. I would love to do exactly what Renee did and just be out, and just focus, because that is definitely where my passion lies. That's where my heart lies, is to try to make a difference in that area. But I've got rent, a car note, bills. I just don't have, and I don't have luckily, it would be cool. Like if Kyrie did this, then I would be like, okay, Kyrie, even if he said I'm going to only do it for a year or one season, I'm just going to focus on this. That would make sense to me because, now he's made his voice be heard, and we know you've made enough money that you're not going to go broke, if you do this. So I think on the flip side, though, we know that there's probably a lot of NBA players who have the heart to do something like this, but to this point in their career have not had the mindset to make sure that they're financially okay to not only maintain their lifestyle, but a lot of them are providing for their family as well. So I think it just depends on people's pockets and what they're able to do.
And my response to that, though, because you're right, and that is 100% what it would be, but my response to that, and I think that's what makes this so powerful, is we talk about all the time. We know that these WNBA players are not even getting paid anywhere close to what these guys are doing. And, that is the unfortunate thought process that is going through some of these NBA players. Like, I got to do all this. What do you think is going through Renee's head? What do you think is going through my mind? Right. Like, I don't think they're really thinking about that because, that they're unfortunately they're not really giving up that much financially, because we talk about all the time. You make more money playing overseas than you even do playing in the WNBA. So yes, I'm sure that obviously they are making money, but I mean to give it up to do what they're doing, like, to me, I feel like that just takes a lot of strength and a lot of courage, because like you just said, like, that'd be something that I'm sure we would want to do too, but how is that something that we can do? Probably not. Right. But then to put it in the sports world, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, the WNBA has a little bit easier time to budget their money because they haven't been getting as much for so long. So they've probably
so they know ahead of time.
They probably actually are much better than a lot of people. Not a lot, but at least a few people in the NBA, because they've learned how to budget their money. They know that they have to work. They've been working 2 jobs basically forever. You know what I mean? So I would say that they're probably a little bit better as far as knowing how to invest. I'm not saying obviously they haven't made as much money, but perhaps in like knowing how to invest and making their money stretch as far as possible, they're probably a little bit better in that aspect.
I would say a lot better. You know why I would say a lot better? Because we were talking about not too long ago about Danny Green talking about players working paycheck to paycheck. So I think WNBA players are probably a lot better when it comes to their money. But yeah, so shout out to Renee for that, and I think that's a very, very dope move for her. All power to her, and I hope that ends up working out long run, just like everything else that's going on right now. So that's it for me on the post up.
All right. Thank you for that, Chris. Okay. Let me get these vocals warmed up. Jackie, tell us what we not gonna do.
Oh, I had to take a minute on that one. All right, guys. Happy Friday. Happy Juneteenth. What we not going to do is fake apologies once again. But this is not a fake apology. I don't know where I'm at on the partial apologies. But we're about to find out, because we already told you about Kendrick Perkins and him kind of bashing Kyrie for forming that coalition. I don't want to say he's bashing him, but he kind of co-signed on what we've all been saying, like, what's the plan? You're kind of confused. So he stands by his stance on Kyrie. He said, quote, Kyrie, in my eyes, in my opinion, he's confused. He's confused as a leader, and I'm standing behind it. So that's cool. But now he's apologizing for one specific part of his statement. He said, quote, if you take Kyrie Irving's brain and put it in a bird right now, guess what that bird is going to do? It's going to fly backwards, because right now Kyrie is confused. So that's the part of his statement that he is apologizing for. That specific part. He said he called Kyrie and he apologized to him about that. I mean, it's an analogy. I get it. You're a grown up. Maybe you shouldn't name call, but it's not really name calling. It's just an analogy. But he apologized for that specific part, said he meant everything else that he said. I just don't know where I stand on this one. I'm like, okay, you could have just not said anything. But what I did find interesting is he appeared on First Take with Stephen A. And Stephen A. was interviewing him, and he was literally wiping away tears because KD called him a sellout. That term was misused, but it's KD. I mean, KD just looking for a moment to jab somebody else and called him a sellout when KD sold out. So, but the fact that Kendrick Perkins was wiping away tears because KD called him a sellout, I don't know. It took me aback a little bit, because I'm wondering if his emotions really are tied into this a little bit more than we thought. But Devin, I'm going to go to you. Between him shedding a tear over KD calling him a sellout and then apologizing for the bird comment, do you have any idea what's going on in Kendrick Perkins' head right now?
Okay, I watched the interview, or when he was on First Take this morning, I watched that, and when they showed him on screen, like, I was so confused. I didn't understand why he was crying. I do think it's kind of funny that he apologized specifically for that bird comment. It was a little mean, but then again, nothing that he said about Kyrie was that flattering. So I don't really know what to make of what's going on in Kendrick Perkins' mind right now. I just think that he's kind of all over the place, and maybe he's not loving all of this, like, attention that's happening. Right. I don't know. I'm pretty confused.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to assume that it was hot in the room. Somebody turned on the fan, and there's a bunch of dust got in his eye, and it wasn't actually tears. That's what I'm assuming. Or a gnat. Maybe it was a gnat. I don't know. But I'm just going to assume it wasn't tears. All right, but we're going to get to this next one, because this next one to me is another one of those, come on, people. So what we not going to do is we not going to play dumb and act like a lot of these people who are suddenly pro-Black Lives Matter, that's really who they are. I'm talking specifically to you, Cowboy Nation, and Cowboy fans and Cowboy players. You guys, if you all of a sudden want Jerry to be somebody who he's not, I'm a little bit surprised by that. Stephen A. Smith, once again, he said, I am not going to rest until we hear something from Jerry Jones. So if you feel like donating some No-Dos or some Red Bull to Stephen A., now is your chance. Because to be fair, Jerry's probably the only owner, in my opinion, who's not fronting for the gram right now. He's the only one that has maintained his silence because he knows what he said in the past, and he's the only one that's sticking to it. So on some level, you got to respect that versus these other owners who we know are only saying anything because that's what is socially acceptable right now. They haven't changed their hearts. They haven't changed their minds. They're just jumping on the social bandwagon. So we all know that about Jerry Jones. All the players know that about Jerry Jones. All the fans know that about Jerry Jones. Now, I'm giving Gerald McCoy a pass because he just signed with the Cowboys. He just signed a 3-year deal with them in March, so maybe he just didn't pay attention to the Cowboys because he didn't have to. But in an interview with ESPN, he said, quote, The Dallas Cowboys are the most recognized franchise in the world. They can get behind it, whether it's the players or just being the movement, period, and showing their support. It would be great to hear a statement from the Cowboys, great to hear a statement from Jerry Jones in support of everything that's going on. Will that get me in trouble saying that? I don't know. But the truth is, it needs to be said. The problem is people are afraid to have conversations. I love the sentiment. I do. But I think I just need to have a moment for everybody Black, because I don't want this to be the point that we all collectively arrive at where now we're okay and we will accept somebody doing something that we know they don't believe in their heart. I get that, especially Britt, she's always more optimistic than me in saying that people change. People do not change this quickly. This movement began not even a month ago. People do not change this quickly. So while I get it, you definitely would want, he's absolutely right. Jerry Jones and a word from him would change the tide, because the Cowboys, like it or not, they are America's team. They're the biggest franchise in the NFL. It would change the tide. But at what cost? Is that what we want? We want people to pretend to be something they're not. He made it clear who he is. I kind of applaud him for not doing a phony song and dance just because that's what he thinks we want and that's what he thinks we think he should do. He's being who he is. And so at the very least, you always know where you stand with Jerry Jones. If he says anything else right now, it's fake. And I just don't want us to get to the point where that's something that we want. Britt, I'm sure you have a comment on that because you know better than anybody else. Jerry Jones is racist as hell. So do you want him to say something at this point?
I think on Britt's take, I've already said I didn't want Jerry to say anything, and I agreed with you on that. I don't think he should say something. It just doesn't make any sense. But to what McCoy said, the Cowboys did release a statement. The Cowboys did a video. So if you want the franchise to do something, that's one thing just as a brand. But to then say now you want Jerry to do something, but now that you're a Cowboy, you should know that the Cowboys did release a statement and a video, and he said that they didn't in his statement. So he probably doesn't even know what's going on with the Cowboys. I get you're new here, bro, but you should at least know what's going on with the brand. You don't need to.
But I get his point though. I get his point. That's like saying Jerry. We had that conversation before. I don't know if you can separate it. That would be like me saying, okay, Jackie Ray is separate from J Ray Productions. It's not. It's one and the same. So I get what he's saying. I just, again, like I said, I don't want Black people to get to the point where we just really want everybody to pretend to be something that they're not. So I get the sentiment though. But Chris, what you doing over there? What you doing? What are you doing right now? Is your head up?
I'm just chilling.
You look
I'm listening.
Why you look so comfortable? You got work to do.
Because I'm listening. I think what you said is right. I'm just afraid that Jerry Jones takes the Dolan route. That's what could happen, because Dolan, he's the same way. We saw the emails and stuff, but it's the same thing. Dolan didn't want to say anything because Dolan is who Dolan is. And that's caused a whole controversy amongst fans and ex-players and blah, 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 blah. But then you have a situation where then the Knicks released the statement that they released that was trash. So yeah, I think I'm with you on that, where it's you don't want him to say something just to say something, because then it's not going to be good. So I get what Gerald McCoy is saying, but I still stick with Britt's previous Britt take. I just think, let the Cowboys do what the Cowboys said, but I'm not, as long as it's not coming out of Jerry Jones's mouth, then whatever. Because just let him, because we know who he is. Let him be who he is. Because we're not going to buy it.
I still think it's hard to separate the brand from the owner, especially when the owner is the GM, damn near the head coach. The assistant coach, he's so inserted himself entirely into that brand that I think it's very difficult to say, let's separate the brand from Jerry Jones. So that's just my thing. But now it's time. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Sit up straight. Mm-hmm. I'm ready. Because it's time for Britt's takes.
Britt's take.
That was a good one.
Good one. All right, guys, we actually have a very, very special Britt's take for you guys. It is to celebrate a brief, very brief, because there's a long history of this, look at the Black athletes that have changed more than just the game that they played. So today we celebrate Juneteenth. June 19th, 1865 is the day when the word finally reached Galveston, Texas, that the slaves were to be free. Over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed, and it actually wasn't made official until December 6th, 1865, with the signing of the 13th Amendment. So a little over 10 years later, in that same town of Galveston, Texas, John Arthur Johnson was born, who is my great-great-uncle. He was nicknamed Jack Johnson, and then later, to many people that feared him, he was known as the Galveston Giant. Now, for years, he fought everyone he could, backyard fights, little bar fights, whatever he could. He dominated everybody. But the highest level he could get to was the World Colored Heavyweight Championship, because obviously back then, it was not allowed for blacks to do anything with white people, let alone fight them or play in a sport with them. Well, this all changed in 1908 when white people finally decided they thought they were going to beat the crap out of Johnson and shut him up. But Jack Johnson actually shut them up. He was actually very poor at the time. He wasn't trained professionally. He just, every time he got hit, he would learn to not get that hit in time. So he fought with his fists very hard, and then he just learned to play defense by actually into fights with other people. And he was so, sometimes he would days without even having like a can of beans. Like when he went up into this fight in 1908, he barely said he had like a can of beans the night before. And so he's going up against the guy that is well-trained, well-fed, all of this kind of stuff, and he beats him and then becomes the first African-American heavyweight champ of the world in 1908, and he held that title for 8 years. So he is on my list today to talk about as athletes that changed the world, is because he basically slapped the whole entire system in the face. He was known to buy really fancy cars, have fur. He was married 3 times, and they were all to white women. And this is in the early 1900s when you were getting lynched for even looking at a white woman. He married 3 of them. Also opened the first desegregated nightclub in the middle of Jim Crow named Black and Tan. He was a pioneer. He literally fought so many hurdles and stuff because he was doing it all by himself and was the first to do it. Muhammad Ali once spoke of him in an interview, spoke of him several times as him being his role model and stuff for the way he acted. But Muhammad Ali once spoke of Jack Johnson, and I'm just going to paraphrase this interview, but he said during Jack Johnson's time, there was no such thing as the Black Panthers, no Dr. King, no Malcolm X, no Angela Davis. It was basically Jack Johnson surrounded by a bunch of rednecks, as Ali said, that would basically riot every time he would fight. They would spit on him. They would threaten him every single day. And he had to do this all by himself. He wasn't on a team. He didn't have anybody with him. There was no NAACP back then. He basically did this all on his own. That is why they had a term for him that said Jack Johnson was unapologetically Black. Jack Johnson once said, "I'm Jack Johnson, heavyweight champion of the world. I'm Black. They never let me forget it. I'm Black, all right. I'll never let them forget it." And he said that before punishing people in the ring. So speaking of Ali, which will be our next guy that I'm going to highlight, we all know what he did in the ring, but I think most of the powerful stuff that he did was actually outside of the ring. Back in March of 1966, he refused to be inducted into the armed forces. They were, telling everybody they had to join the military, and he refused to serve a country that he said would not grant him all the freedoms of the white man. As a response, he was denied boxing licenses in all 50 states, and his passport was actually revoked, so he wasn't allowed to travel to make money to fight overseas either. He used those 3 years that he was basically banned until overturned in the Supreme Court. He used those years to speak to colleges across the nation, criticizing the Vietnam War, advocating African-American pride and racial justice. He once said, "I am America. I am the part you won't recognize, but get used to me. Black, confident, cocky, my name, not yours, my religion, not yours, my goals, my own. Get used to me." They always said one of The only thing that was quicker than Muhammad Ali's fists and feet was his mind and his mouth. As a fighter, you would think people would be like afraid of him, just going up to him, but it was actually the opposite. People really took to what he was saying. So granted, he started the Black Power movement, but he was the one that introduced it to white America, because white America loved him in a sense, or listened to him at the very least. Now, a lot of people didn't love Muhammad Ali, but they listened to him, and he was able to use his fame to actually teach. And he was never really scared to enter a room and speak his mind. And I think what he did out of the ring was so important to the movement. A guy that he actually worked hand in hand with on a few occasions was Bill Russell, who will be my final person I'm going to discuss. He was the first Black NBA superstar. Now, granted, there were several Black players that paved the way before him that entered into the league, but he was the first Black superstar. He won 11 championships, 5 NBA MVPs. He played his entire career with the Celtics, and then went on to become the first Black head coach amongst all major sports. But fans hated him. Celtics fans hated him because he refused to autograph anybody's stuff because of the racist culture in Boston that we have still talked about to this day. In fact, because of his support and work with Ali and the Black Panthers, the FBI actually maintained a file on Bill Russell. And in the file, they described him as, and I quote, this is very, an arrogant Negro who signed autographs for white children. That was in his file for the FBI. Like, that's what they had against him, is because he didn't want to sign autographs for the white kids at the games. So he had so many issues, obviously, that he had to deal with the racist environment in Boston. Him and his teammates weren't allowed into restaurants, even hotels that they were staying at when they were on the road. They were kicked out of or had to stay somewhere else. So because of all of this and his negative experience with playing in the NBA, he actually refused to attend the ceremony when his number 6 jersey was retired in 1982. And then a few years later, he also refused to attend the induction of him being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1975. And it actually wasn't until November of 2019 that Bill Russell actually accepted his Hall of Fame ring for the first time. He never did this until November 2019, accepted his Hall of Fame ring finally in a private ceremony with him and his family. So I know, and another thing, I know we talked about him the other day on social media doing when he was kneeling and stuff. Well, that wasn't the first time Bill Russell did that. Back in 2017, the following year after Cap had kneeled, he posted a picture of him kneeling, saying, "Proud to take a knee, and stand tall against social injustice." And he went on to say he did that because he didn't want NFL players to feel like they were alone, as he did and his teammates did back in the day when he played. So those are my 3 that I want you guys to look up more information on if you don't know about. We're going to move on. I have, instead of asking you guys questions, I'm going to have all of you guys kind of run through somebody that you want to share their Black excellence with on Juneteenth. So we're going to start with Chris Clark. I know you have somebody you want to tell us about.
Yes, and surprise, surprise, it is a Laker. Yes, I will be talking about Lew Alcindor, but you guys know him more popularly as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yes, in his basketball career, this man cleaned up on the collegiate level. He's definitely cleaned up in the NBA level. But the thing is, like everyone that Britt just named, he has done a lot outside of the sport of basketball for our culture, for civil rights, from skipping the tryout for the 1968 Olympics, even though they did go on to win. But the thing is, he, at the time, at the collegiate level, he was the best player in the world, and he didn't even show up for the tryout for that because of his beliefs on how Black people were treated in the country at that time, and he didn't want to go on to represent the United States at that time. To then having Muhammad Ali's back when he decided to not go and fight in the Vietnam War because of the same reason, and at that time still younger and very at the beginning of his career, had a lot to give up. He could care less, just like we were talking about with Renee and Maya Moore. He could care less because he believed in Muhammad Ali and what he was standing for, and his belief and his reason to not go and fight in the Vietnam War. And of course, that went Muhammad Ali's way. then he went on, like I said, to have a great career in the NBA. But before that, I just want to drop a little nugget. I don't know if you knew about this. Did you know? And they don't admit it, but did you guys know that the whole NCAA, who we love to talk so much crap about, they decided to ban dunking because of this man. Now they won't admit it was because of Kareem or Lua at the time, Lou Alcindor. But the thing was, Kareem was just out there beasting everybody that he played at the collegiate level, that they banned dunking. And Kansas coach at the time said that dunking was not a way to show off one's skill at basketball. It just shows off their height. Well, Kareem said, cool, take away my dunking. I got a new move to show the world. And that's when the skyhook was birthed. It was born. The skyhook was shown off, and you saw that throughout his entire career. So I want to show some love to him. He also, we know that back in 2016, he was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama in his last year. So out there writing books, and he's been doing a lot for the culture, to the point where he's even getting hate from Donald Trump. So that means he's obviously doing something right. So that's my shout out to Kareem AbdulJabbar.
All right. I love it, Chris. Bill Russell and Muhammad Ali did a lot of great things together. And speaking of another Muhammad, I think Jackie has a Muhammad she would like to tell us all about as well.
I do. This is my favorite Muhammad because, as I said, I am from Denver. So I just really appreciate him facing off in Denver. It's not the safest place to do that. But a lot of people don't know, or maybe just kind of overlook, that he actually had Tourette's. So something as simple as like tying his shoe was difficult for him. All of his teammates always praised him for the fact that he would like hit these threes and stuff, and he would just be upset about it, and he would go back and do it again because he wanted to perfect it, because he had to get in a specific routine so that way, he could battle against his Tourette's and be good at the game. Phil Jackson called him a precursor to Steph Curry, which I thought was dope, but he changed his name. So he changed his name from Chris Johnson to Muhammad Abdul Rauf after he found Islam. And then I think he went through what a lot of us Black people go through, because, we don't really learn our history in high school. You don't really even learn it in college unless you take an African-American studies class. And then once he started really kind of diving in and learning his history and then practicing Islam, he became conflicted. So he, in the 1994-95 season, he began protesting the national anthem, not publicly. It was just something he did privately because of his own belief. So he'd either stay in the locker room or he'd make an effort to stretch during the game. And he did everything he could not to draw attention to himself. But of course, the media eventually saw him. And so they asked him, why did he do that? And he said, with regard to the flag, he said, quote, "The flag is a symbol of oppression and of tyranny. You can't be for God and for oppression at the same time." So ultimately, the Denver Nuggets decided, hey, his personal stance on that, which to me is accurate, was it far exceeded the fact that he was their number one scorer. They traded him for some old dude that nobody really even liked and couldn't score at all. And then 2 years later, he was out of the league. But I just really admire him for the fact that he knew what was coming, but his beliefs and his learning his history just meant more to him. And he just kind of stood on that. And now he's playing. He's super old. He's still playing. And so he's out there just doing his thing. So I have tremendous amount of respect for Mahmoud Abdul Rauf from Denver.
I love it. Yes. And he plays in the B, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he looks he looks good. Like he's aging like a champ. I'm like, okay.
Right. And then, Devin, did you have one you wanted to tell us about as well?
Yes, and I know we're over, so I'll just breeze through this really quickly, but I feel like we obviously had to recognize Maya Moore. She is a 4-time WNBA champion and 2014 WNBA MVP. She found her calling in criminal justice reform. She stepped fully away from the WNBA to fight for it, and she took an interest in Jonathan Irons, who was wrongfully convicted of burglary and assault in 1999, and she helped have his 50-year sentence overturned. Since George Floyd's murder, Maya's been really vocal, continuing to be vocal, but she's also hoping to use these protests as a way to draw attention to larger issues within the criminal justice system. She's one of the best players in WNBA history, and it's huge that she stepped away at the prime peak point of her career to focus on something so worthwhile. So I just wanted to shout out her. I have tremendous respect for her. I think that what she's doing is so important and extremely admirable. So that was my person that I wanted to highlight today, and that's it for me. So anyone have anything that they want to add?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for making sure we got a Black woman on board, because really most of these movements, Black Lives Matter being one of them, was founded by Black women. And a lot of times their voices end up getting lost in the sauce. And it's like some guy kind of steps up and is like, oh, I'm going to lead this, even though it was a Black woman that's the one that started it or pushed it or brought it out of them. So thank you for including Miss Maya Moore in that one, because Black women have definitely been very instrumental in this movement, and it's great that we made sure, and you made sure we included a Black woman in that. But thank you guys for doing that for Britt's Take today. I hope everybody learned a little something they didn't know before. Happy Juneteenth. Make sure you buy Black this weekend and forevermore. And I love that we are continuing this movement, and it's like, who said it? It's not a moment, it's a movement. So we got to make sure we keep moving with this. And happy Juneteenth.
Can I say before we go to not only happy Juneteenth, but to Chris and everybody else out there, happy Father's Day is this weekend.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Yes, happy Father's Day, Chris, and everyone else.
It's like all mamas.
Right. It's fine. No, thank you.
I forgot on the panel, Chris Clark, Father's Day.
I know. Yay, Chris!
Yeah, shout out to Chris in the chat who donated $10, saying that. I appreciate it too from you as well. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks.
Oh yes, thank you for doing that, Chris. I forgot to call that out. I saw it after I finished my segment, but yeah, thank you to Chris for the $10. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up. We're going to be continuing all of these conversations about the Black Lives Matter movement, how athletes are getting involved, and how you can empower and uplift the Black community. You have power in your wallet, you guys. Shop from Black-owned businesses, like Britt was saying. And have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.